drafting in the middle of your rounds can be challenging. It can be hard because you don't want to reach for some of your favorite players a round or two early, but you also don't want to let these gems in your mind go to your league mates. So today, what I want to do, I want to go through rounds 5 through 8 and give you some different draft strategies that you could take here in your drafts in 2024. But without further ado, let's get into it. Starting off here with the 5th pick, and just to clarify, I like to do these in half PPR slash full PPR formats. Now, if you want me to do a standard version of this, I'll be more than happy to do that here. Just let me know down in the comments. But here is more of a wide receiver dominant approach. You get Justin Jefferson at the 5th pick, a guy that I think will probably fall to the 5th pick in most drafts because of his quarterback situation. Now, he's made a career out of making bad quarterbacks look mediocre and mediocre quarterbacks looking good, and so on and so forth. Justin Jefferson has had the best start to any receiver's career in NFL history. As crazy as that might sound, but he's been dominant. You get him at the 5th pick, I think you're pretty happy, whether it's McCarthy or Sam Darnold. We can trust Kevin O'Connell to get his best player the ball. And of course, he's going to be a safe pick here in 2024. I just don't think he has the upside as the guys on Monday's video. But at number 2, we're going to go strictly upside here. A guy that I see sometimes going in the late first round, that's a little bit too pricey for me. I think in the middle of the second round would be where I would entertain a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr. So getting a guy like Justin Jefferson, where it's a relatively safe pick, why not? Let's go out there and just draft strictly upside. Go get a Marvin Harrison, and hopefully he can have a monster rookie season like a guy like Ja'Marr Chase did just a few years back, or even Puka Nacua from last season. Now in rounds 3, a guy that is also falling down boards, I think, a little bit, a top 12 wide receiver for me, is DJ Moore. So in the first 3 rounds, you might be saying, okay, this is crazy. No quarterbacks, no tight ends, and no balance in this team. But I mean, hey, if the value is on the board, why not? This is definitely a different approach that you could take here with your fantasy leagues. But 3 straight wide receivers that could all finish top 12. If that is what you have after the first 3 rounds, on paper it looks scary, but I think you'd be pretty happy with the result. At the 4 and 5, now in the 4th round, if you want to say, you know what, I'm done taking wide receivers, let's all balance out this team. A guy like Ken Walker could be there in the 4th round, and then you can also swing back in the 5th round with a guy like David Montgomery. So you get 2 very safe running backs that, if injuries were to happen, their upsides would skyrocket, especially in David Montgomery's case. But in round 4, if you just want to say, I'm just going to continue going value, go get a guy like Nico Collins, the number 1 in his offense, and you walk out of your first 4 rounds with number 1 wide receivers. It's just something to think about. On paper, it sounds scary, but it could be very scary for your opponents if it does work out. But that is one strategy, just going straight wide receiver heavy and seeing how everything else plays out. Here is the 6th pick. Of course, I'll go with a bit of a more balanced approach here, getting 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and a tight end. In the first 2 rounds, if you want to go Breece Hall, that might be the best value on the board. Now, if you want to do Bijan Robinson or Jonathan Taylor instead of Breece Hall, I'm not going to hate you. Yeah, right. This is just the number 2 running back on my board this year, at least as of right now. So Breece Hall here at the 6th overall pick. And then you come back around, middle of the 2nd round. Why not? Let's go out there after the value of a guy like Travis Etienne, as this offense is in desperate need of a bounce back season. And what made them so dominant the last 2 years was when Travis Etienne touched the ball. So let's hope this team doesn't have a second half meltdown like they did last year, and Etienne can have a consistent, dominant production on a weekly basis. And again, if you believe the Jags can bounce back like I do, I think Etienne is a steal of a pick here in the middle of the 2nd round. Now, in rounds 3 and 4, let's start attacking that wide receiver position. We don't want to go too, we don't want to be too lopsided of a roster. Getting Mike Evans, consistent 1,000-yard wide receiver, arguably a Hall of Fame level wide receiver. Last year, great connection with Baker Mayfield. I do worry because this team did lose Dave Canales this offseason, but it doesn't matter what offensive coordinator or quarterback that Mike Evans has had. He's made a career and a Hall of Fame level career out of whatever quarterback he's had, and he's made them look good, and he's gotten his 1,000 yards on a yearly basis. Getting him in the 3rd round seems like a steal, and you're, again, safe floor, high upside is really the motto of this team. In round 4, Jaylen Waddle, strictly upside. If anything happens to Tyreek Hill, Jaylen Waddle, he's going to be waddling over everybody. That was terrible. I'm sorry about that. In round 5, Dalton Kincaid To me, a top 5, top 4 level tight end on the season. He is the heartbeat now of that Buffalo Bills offense. And if in those dire situations where Josh Allen is going to have to be Superman and push the ball down the field, he's going to be looking at Dalton Kincaid every single time. And I know the potential's there with Keon Coleman, but he's just a rookie. And and I am not worried about Curtis Samuel having this magical season where he takes a lot of targets and production out of Kincaid's hands. So Kincaid could have a dangerous second season. And this is definitely a more balanced approach that you could take here in the middle rounds of your draft. At round 7, this is an approach here where it's still balanced, but instead of a tight end, we're going to go with a quarterback here in the first couple rounds. And of course, this is a team that I can sum up by one word. We have some stability, but the the one word to describe this team is upside. Getting Bijan in the first round. Some would say, I guess reports say, that he's going to get a Christian McCaffrey level load this season. So getting Bijan in the first round, if he's Christian McCaffrey, the upside's through the roof already. You pair that here in the second round with Mr. Stability in a guy like Davante Adams. And that brings us to the third round where you have one running back, one wide receiver, one strictly upside, but one on the safer side. And in your third round, if you want to go strictly upside with this team, go after De'Von Achane. This is a guy that doesn't need 7, 8, even 15 touches a game to be fantasy relevant. He just needs 2 touches a game, and he can outscore most of our favorite running backs across the league because he has that much speed and that much agility and that much talent with the ball in his hands. Like we saw last year, if he can stay healthy, he has maybe the most upside out of anybody in fantasy football. Or if you want to go on the safer side, go with a guy like Isaiah Pacheco, a guy that should be a top 12 running back. I have him higher in my rankings than De'Von Achane. But of course, all depends on what you would like to do. Upside or stability. I think it all depends on what side of the coin you wanna flip, right? Round 4, though, back to upside. We're going Deebo Samuel, a guy that's not going to give you consistent production throughout the season, but when those splash weeks happen, those splash weeks could be the reason why you sneak into the playoffs, and not only sneak into the playoffs as a team that only has a couple good pieces, but that he could be the reason where if he gets hot, he can win you your championship because Deebo has those crazy 40 to 50 point weeks seemingly every single season. In round 5, why not? Let's put the cherry on top. Let's go after strictly upside at the quarterback position, Anthony Richardson. So with this build of a team, again, if you want to go Pacheco and Adams to have that stability, or if you just want to go Achane in the third round, you're going to have a team of strictly upside here. And if 3 or 4 of these guys hit, seemingly you're going to win your fantasy championship. You just need to, I guess it just depends on how much you want to bank your season on the upside that these players can have those big splash weeks throughout the season, especially late in the year. But again, this team is strictly upside. So if you want to go with an upside build, this is definitely kind of your build here with those guys. And even if you want to replace Davante with a guy like Drake London, fully commit to the upside build, that's definitely a different approach you can take as well. Here at the 8th spot, and this is the last one we'll talk about today, but I think this is one that we're going to go strictly. We're going to hammer out the positions of need, and that is the wide receiver and the running back positions. They have the most depth, and of course, these are the positions where we have to start the most of them on a weekly basis. So let's hammer those positions. Amon-Ra St. Brown at the 8th pick, absolute steal. You know what you're getting. Chris Olave, nothing but upside. So you get stability and upside in those first 2 rounds at receiver. Round 3, again, the age-old question from the last 2 or 3 picks. Do you want Achane or do you want Pacheco? To me, I'd probably go Pacheco, but to each their own. In round 4, Rachaad White, I do worry about a guy like him. Again, with the departure of Dave Canales and all the receiving work that happened in that offensive scheme. But Baker Mayfield, whether he was in Cleveland, which I'm a Browns fan, he has always dumped off to the running back position. So Rachaad White, I think, takes a step back this year, but he can still be a top 20 running back here in fantasy football. And if you're getting a top 20 running back with the build you already have, I think that's a great, solid selection in the 4th round. And then round 5, let's go back to upside. Let's go after a guy that I think currently is going in the 4th round of most mock drafts. But to me, that's a little bit too rich, just like Marvin Harrison was a little bit too rich for me in the 1st round. I think getting him in the 5th round, especially the middle of the 5th round, is an absolute steal. So let's take a quick look here at these builds. Now, again, if you want to go back, a lot of these players can change. If you want to take a player, a pick early or pick late, here is just a couple different builds. We have a team with 4 wide receivers, and we have a team with a tight end, a team with a quarterback, and a team with no onesie positions, and strictly hammering out the depth of the most two important positions, the wide receiver and the running back positions. But that's going to do it here. Again, we run through these videos relatively quickly. So if you enjoyed, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments which of these 4 builds would you prefer, right? Or if you have one of these picks, what is an approach you're going to try and take here in 2024 in your drafts? Let me know in the comments.